So welcome to Bunny's Designs. This is a live stream with live peoples, recorded for Ustream.tv and also recorded for YouTube for people to watch at their leisure. I'm working in my Kerby Rosames Imagimorphia on the Tutankhamun page, and the only way I can work today really is with the pastels and a damp brush, because both are really easy on your hands, and hands today are being a bit pedantic. And so's the lighting, so it's been rather bad. Let's see if I can just pan out a bit, that might have something to do with it. We'll just see if that makes anything better. It's been fine earlier and it's gone off. So I've got a Spectrum Blue 32, a bowl. This is the vintage set of Derwent pastels. Derwent pastels, Prussian Blue F for faint, Zinc Yellow F for faint, and Cadmium Deep D. And basically I've got a very, very cadmium warm yellow, a cold yellow, very pale. I've got a very pale cold blue, and I've got a Spectrum Blue, which is a fairly cool blue. And I'm just doing, the beauty of pencils is you don't need your thumbs. You can manipulate them with a couple of fingers and you can just scratch the surface. And you really don't want to have good hands for this, because if you scratch any more than a tiny bit, you'll end up with dust. And if you've got dust, you've got too much pigment. So I start with the palest, manipulate that round, and the minute the damp brush touches it, it becomes a watercolour. Or I rephrase that, it reacts like a watercolour. Now I could have had a brighter highlight on there, but it's one of those days. So if I just put a little bit of yellow at one side and another, I'm actually going to skip the pale colours. I'm just using two, because I think that's going to be better. And manipulate that yellow round. Remember not to touch the blue, because you'll get green. You'll get a very nice green, but you will get green. Now I've actually lost the highlight on there. So a little bit of blue on there and a little bit of blue on there. Maybe I use a smaller brush. I think I'm going to use the tiny brush for this. This is the little one from a set. So you can manipulate that blue and then at that side, and then I'm going to absolutely take all that off very quickly and just stroke that across, so I've got that highlight back. So the highlight's going to get bigger as it goes round. So a little bit of yellow there and a little bit there. So the smaller brush is better. A very dry brush you need. And again, just stroke that colour across. Now when that's dry, I'm going to put a little bit of darker underneath so I can just get a highlight back, because I've messed up the highlight a bit. And then of course under the bug, so you're literally scratching a few specks of dust, basically that's what you're doing. And remember, the more dust you have, the more pigment you're wasting. So as a tight Yorkshire lass, I don't like that. So again, the highlight changes as this goes round, remember, it changes. In fact, you could possibly put, instead of picking it up and down, so your highlight is going to change. Your highlight's going to be at that side now, and then here you probably won't have a highlight. I would think that's about right. So the easiest way to do it, if you've got bad hands, is just stroke a tiny bit of colour. Oopsie. So I've made a bit of a boo-boo of that, but it's fine, because what I can show you is with the eraser. Again, no thumb required. I can just get rid of that. I can't sweep it across because I haven't blended it. And as I say, I'm going to use this little tiny brush and manipulate that yellow. So that's giving me a highlight. And that just gives that a little bit of colour. So then I can clean that and just use blue now. So again, you want to be fairly comfortable, otherwise your wrists will start to hurt. So you've got to be in a comfortable position. And then just manoeuvre that across. You could almost leave that white. And again, this is a really nice quiet way to work. If your thumbs weren't killing you, it'd be fine. I always thought when we were children going around the dungeons and they used to talk about the thumb screw, and I used to think, oh well, that's not much pain, is it? I'm beginning to realise why they did it. I had thought about getting an axe and chopping the little monsters off. So that was very quick. I have lost the highlight, but I've got to let that dry. I mean, it's dried, but I want to let it really dry, and then I can go back in with a tiniest bit of colour, a little bit like this. If I just scratch that there, it's just the tiniest bit. Actually, this brush is quite nice to use. And then if you can just activate that little bit, it's just given you that little bit darker in there. So I'm going to do that on either side of that. Phone. Get my small phone out. Kerby sent me a message. So we'll have a quick look at this. I think it's all gold, is that one? Yeah, it's all gold, look. So what we've got is some purpley blue, and it looks the same blue as here. It's just some people do it pale blue and purpley blue. I've done mine pale blue. So I've got a paler blue, same blue as here, and then that's a little bit of a purpley colour which I've used up here. So I've got two choices. I can either turn that down or I can turn it back up again. The gold is just in little bars, so again, and I think that is actually darker, so I think we will actually do this in strands, because I think it lends itself to strands, so the strands are going to be brighter. And I think probably even a straw colour, almost a straw colour. And again, there isn't particularly then we get up here, and again we want a highlight there, which is here. I wonder what's happened to my... Oh, thanks, Karen. Yeah, the hands are getting a little bit oof, but we're here. We are. So again, I'm just going to put a little bit of colour in here because I want that to be quite pale. But we want some, like a straw colour that's going to give that kind of old gold. So the beads are the top. I'm just trying to work out which colour's which. That's purple. I think I'll do this gold. And then I've got the pale one. So we can put a bit of pale on here. And again, it sounds like I'm scratching a lot, but I'm not. But this particular one, I think I might go dark. I don't know. To see. Let's see how we go. See how we go. I think I still want a bit of a straw colour. I think I want a bit of the burnt sienna might be okay. Although I have done cold. I've done cold. That's my little piece of paper now. Do we think that's too... Yes, that's too much. So again, this one is brown ochre dense, so it's like a pale straw colour, and it's just going to give me probably a yellow ochre is a good way I would describe this one. It's a darker, duller yellow, just a little bit in there somewhere, just to kind of emphasize that I'm a bit more of a dull gold. And a little paintbrush, very, very quick, just manoeuvring across, and if it's catching it, it's making it into a watercolour, and where there's nothing, we've got a highlight. And I think that's about as good as that's going to get. So we'll have to see. that's any good. I'm just going over these because I think I'm going to give that a pale colour. So I think Dee Dee should be on in the next half hour, something like that maybe. So I do have a row of these beads. We have this row, and then we have the first one. So if they were used as pure colour, they're very vibrant, but I tend to use them quite muted. And then we just want a paler blue. I've got a blue spectrum. I think that's quite a nice blue. Pastel blue. And I don't think I can do this, but there we go. Get a bit of a highlight back on there. Bit of a highlight back on there. I've just given all that a little bit of colour. So I think that looks quite okay. You've got his goatee beard, his plait. That's all gold, and again that's going to be a bit of straw here. And then that gorgeous cadmium, deep cadmium colour. But nothing on the end because we want a really nice highlight. And push that in. So it's not a watercolour, but it reacts like a watercolour, and that allows you I've lost that lovely highlight, so see if we can get that back in a second when it's dried. But it's fairly quick, which is quite good because sometimes it's a bit difficult to do. Now, again, just gently scratching the surface. Any more and you'll get so much dust. it won't be pleasant to work with. I'm just stroking that colour. Now see if we can get rid of that blue. Without making that golden ear. So, stamp a bit of gold in here. I'm just going to do the face, and then I'm going to have to leave it now because it's getting just a bit too painful. But I wanted to finish the face off a bit if I could. I'm going to have to go to slightly bigger brush. And can tease that colour down. I had actually forgotten that, but we'll put that in a little bit later, so we want a very tiny amount of pale on there. These pastels are so soft, they just run off the page. They are very well behaved. So they're perfect if you've got poorly hands or if you've got a bit of arthritis. You can play all day with these. And they just give you a nice little bit of colouring. We've kept that nice highlight on that forehead. And then just match that gold up there. I think this is quite dark gold, which is the original cadmium. So I'm quite enjoying myself. It's quite a nice way to work. I'm not sure what colour his lips are. I'm not sure if he's got... That's a little bit too wet, but it will stand that. Because it's a rigger, it'll just keep going. Just want the palest colour on there. Just a little bit of colour here. So we can tease that down. Oh, hi Brenda Blue, welcome to Bunny's Designs. Anybody else stopping by? Oh, thank you, Karen, thank you. Yep, I'm hoping my hands stamp up as well. I just need a pale shadow over there, so we can manoeuvre that about a bit. We don't need very much on there, so we could leave that as a really nice highlight. And push that colour up. So just have a very quick look at the it's a very big. Very quick look and see what's happening. Oh, that's part of the neck. So again, we can have the gold where we need it. So we can stir that up there, give a bit of variation. If you get any tiny bits, you need to get rid of them really. And then we start with the gold beads, but we do know that these are gold. So we can put them in. So it's fairly quick to work. Excuse me, my voice is getting squeakier and squeakier. And they can be quite bright because they need to be quite bright. And they don't take a lot of water, just the tiniest amount of a damp brush. And we need to imply we have colour. So I think every other one is going to be like that. And then that one is the same, just a tiny bit. Oh, hi Kingo, welcome to Bunny's Designs. I didn't think I have, but Kingo says I've got a cold. Yeah, I must be starting with one. I'm fine until the minute I start to talk. Then we can just tease that colour down there. We should be using that tiny one really. Now I'm putting gold behind here, but it looks like it wants something else, but I shall put gold. I think I need a bit of a darker colour. So welcome to Bunny's Designs. This is a live stream, live peoples, recorded for Ustream.tv, and also for people to watch at their leisure on YouTube. Please like and subscribe if you'd like any more videos, and tell me what you'd like. I think I need a bit of a... There was the dark blue coming in there now, dark purpley blue. And I don't think I used that one, so I've got to remember mine's a different colour though. So I can just about get these pencils out. Let me have a look. looks a bit like a reddy brown to go with, so I think I'll have a reddy brown here. And then possibly that blue again there. Little tiny brush again. I'm using my derwent. I'm using my derwent for vintage pastel pencils, but I'm using them as a watercolour, and they're not a watercolour, but when you activate them with water instead of blending tool, they react like a watercolour. And I quite like that. It's an easy way to work. How are we doing for time? So I'll just pan out a bit. So that highlight on the face was quite nice. The only thing I've got to watch out for is the lips, and it is a gold, so we need to put the gold lips in. In fact, we could use the cadmium red dark, I think. The really rich cadmium red, and just have a bit of a highlight on top. So didn't get much of a highlight, we lost it, but the lips wanted to be that gold. They needed to be really, really bright. And I think we could maybe put a little bit of this on here. Just to make that tiniest bit. Right. So I've done half an hour on here. So I've actually, I'll pan out and then I shall show you what I've done. I sound as if I have a cold, I do apologise. So most of it's dried. It's all been set into a watercolour, so we're almost halfway there. This took quite a lot of doing because we were trying to get the highlights in. It's slightly darker than that, but there's a nice highlight on the face. So I've got it's broken my heart, but I've had to put my pencils into my little I've had to put my pencils into this two sleeves of my box, because I just cannot it's a deep cadmium B. I had great difficulty, so that one must go there then. Getting them out of the box, and as much as I love that box, it just could not bear to open it. So the derwent pencils have gone into there, and my gorgeous 90 set of vintage pastels are here, so I can use them. I can't really lift the big box today, but I've got 2 original boxes that didn't come with pencils because they were very expensive if they have a pencil mark on them. But I find this way of working quite easy. Just a couple of riggers, a little ink pot with a baby wipe, and pastels, and you just scratch a little bit of pastel on, and then you kind of blend it, and it's set then. I found another bug actually. In fact, there's lots of bugs all the way around. So just see if I've got to the bottom of that. Right, so the other one I wanted to finish up today was Imagimorphia. So if I just put that there like that. So that's the end of part 2, I think. I think that's part 2 of Imagimorphia Tutankhamun by Kerby Rosames in my pastel pencils vintage set. Set with a water brush instead of blending. Thank you for watching.